December 1944. The Ardennes was buried under thick, relentless snow, the kind that muted every sound, obscured vision, and weighed heavily on the spirits of men who had endured months of warfare. The icy winds sliced through their coats, numbing fingers and faces, forcing even the most seasoned soldiers to confront the fragility of their own mortality. Across the front, the German attack tore through defensive lines, sending shockwaves of chaos cascading down the chain of command. Radio signals were scrambled, messages barely made sense, and rumors spread faster than any official orders could be transmitted. In Eisenhower's headquarters, tension gripped the room as officers pored over maps marked with black symbols, representing enemy positions that shifted and multiplied with each passing hour. Amid this storm of confusion, one man remained unusually calm, almost energized by the challenge. George S. Patton Jr., known for his relentless drive and audacious strategies, had anticipated the German offensive weeks in advance. Now, as the attack hit with full force, he felt a grim satisfaction in seeing his foresight validated. Bastogne was encircled, and the 101st Airborne was holding out against overwhelming odds. Mortars rained down on the frozen hills, tanks fired intermittently, often misfiring in the bitter cold, and medical teams worked tirelessly, their patience tested by the relentless demands of treating the wounded under impossible conditions. Paratroopers maintained discipline, pride, and unyielding resolve, their courage shining like a beacon in the dark, frozen forests. Patton's determination was singular. He would reach Bastogne and relieve the trapped troops. Every hour he spent planning, coordinating fuel depots, rehearsing emergency maneuvers, and positioning units contributed to the careful orchestration of a counterattack that would soon turn the tide. Patton did not waste a single moment. While others debated the feasibility of moving troops and supplies through snow-choked roads and frozen forests, he had already begun orchestrating a complex maneuver. His mind was a machine, calculating distances, fuel requirements, and troop movements with precision. For hours, he coordinated with his staff, reviewing maps, instructing officers to establish supply depots, and ensuring that every vehicle and soldier knew its role in the upcoming counterattack. The Third Army's preparation was meticulous. Roads became arteries of movement, and miles of convoys climbed steep hills, maneuvering through the dense forest with astonishing organization. Soldiers marched with snow cutting into their faces, their hats stiff with ice, while engineers laid corduroy roads to prevent tanks from getting stuck. Half-tracks and tank carriers maneuvered dangerously close to obstacles, yet morale remained high because each soldier knew the man at the helm had the vision to turn this chaos into victory. Within Bastogne, the 101st Airborne endured freezing conditions that would have broken less disciplined units. German artillery pounded relentlessly, but the defenders adapted instinctively, turning their positions into deadly traps. Medics worked by candlelight, exhausted yet determined, distributing limited supplies, while troops shared coffee and rations to maintain energy and morale. The sudden arrival of reinforcements, when it came, was a welcome but chaotic addition, yet Patton's careful planning ensured that every unit had a role, every position a purpose. His command was not just tactical but symbolic. His presence inspired the men, reminded them that even surrounded, frozen, and under fire, they were not alone. Patton's meticulous preparation and decisive leadership set the stage for the legendary counteroffensive that would etch Bastogne into history. Patton's march to Bastogne became a living storm. As his columns of tanks, trucks, and infantry navigated snow-covered roads and dense forests, every mile was a test of endurance and coordination. Engineers worked tirelessly, laying makeshift roads and clearing obstacles, while drivers fought fatigue and frostbite, their hands frozen to metal controls. Soldiers trudged through deep snow, their breath forming clouds in the icy air, their uniforms soaked and frozen stiff. Communication lines were stretched to the limit, but messengers and signalers ensured that orders reached every unit. Patton himself moved among the troops, inspecting positions, issuing rapid commands, and inspiring confidence. He treated vehicles and artillery with the same scrutiny as he did soldiers, demanding readiness and efficiency at every level. Meanwhile, the Germans maintained relentless pressure, attempting to cut off supply lines and weaken the defenders' resolve. Yet, each obstacle only strengthened Patton's determination. Every night, the commanders gathered to review the progress, adjust plans, and ensure the fastest possible advance. Despite exhaustion, morale remained high. Patton's reputation and decisiveness motivated every man. By the time his forces approached Bastogne, they were organized, disciplined, and ready to strike. The 101st Airborne, already battered and surrounded, saw the approaching relief as a lifeline. The soldiers' fear was replaced by renewed hope, and the Germans were unaware of the storm that would soon hit their positions. Patton's leadership had turned a desperate situation into an impending triumph, illustrating the profound impact of planning, courage, and relentless execution in the midst of chaos. The march was not merely a movement of troops, it was a demonstration of determination, vision, and the indomitable spirit of the army under an audacious leader. Patton's forces finally reached the outskirts of Bastogne after a grueling march through snow and ice. The landscape was a frozen battlefield, dotted with shell craters and shattered trees. The defenders, the 101st Airborne, were exhausted but resilient, their positions surrounded by enemy forces and snowdrifts. When the first tanks crested the hill, the sight brought relief and renewed energy to the weary paratroopers. Supply trucks arrived, unloading ammunition, food, and medical aid, every crate a lifeline. Patton himself moved from unit to unit, inspecting fortifications, checking weapons, and personally motivating the troops. Soldiers who had faced near certain defeat now found hope in his presence. The Germans, unaware of the organized reinforcement, had expected the Americans to crumble under isolation. Instead, Patton's arrival turned the tide. Artillery was repositioned to maximize impact, infantry lines were reinforced, and communication was restored. Patrols ventured cautiously beyond the perimeter, assessing enemy movements while maintaining a defensive posture. The morale shift was palpable. What had been desperation became determination. Soldiers shared limited rations, laughed at small victories, and read letters from home with newfound hope. Engineers repaired roads and bridges, ensuring that supply chains would remain open despite the bitter cold. Patton's decisiveness and personal courage inspired not just his troops but the entire command structure, showing that leadership under extreme conditions could alter the course of battle. By nightfall, Bastogne was transformed from a beleaguered fortress into a stronghold capable of resisting the German offensive. Every man understood that survival depended on cohesion, planning, and unyielding resolve. Patton's personal presence, combined with precise logistical management, ensured that the defenders were ready for the next phase of the battle. With Bastogne stabilized, Patton's army began preparing for the counterattack. Roads, barely passable through snow and ice, were cleared by engineers who worked tirelessly, using logs, gravel, and makeshift corduroy paths to allow tanks and supply vehicles to advance. Every mile covered demanded coordination and precision. Troops loaded ammunition, checked artillery positions, and rehearsed maneuvers to ensure no errors would occur once the assault began. Scouts were sent to the front lines to gather intelligence on German positions, noting weaknesses in fortifications and patrol patterns. Soldiers fortified their positions, digging trenches and creating firing points while snow continued to fall relentlessly. The air was tense with anticipation. Every man understood the importance of timing. Patton's leadership was evident in every decision. He inspected tanks, walked among the infantry, and encouraged medics and engineers, reminding them that their work could turn the battle in their favor. Communication lines were tested, radios tuned, and contingency plans made for unexpected enemy movements. Food and water distribution continued despite the harsh weather, ensuring troops remained as prepared as possible. Night drills simulated potential German attacks, while officers reviewed maps under candlelight and lanterns, adjusting plans for optimal efficiency. Every detail mattered, from the positioning of mortars to the coordination between artillery and infantry. As dawn approached, the counterattack was ready. Troops were aware of the danger but confident in their preparation. The morale, bolstered by Patton's presence and strategic foresight, created a sense of inevitability. The German advance could be halted. Soldiers felt they were part of a larger force that could not be broken, a disciplined and coordinated army poised to strike back. The stage was set for the decisive actions that would define the battle and test every man's courage and endurance. As dawn broke over the snow-covered Ardennes, Patton's forces moved with meticulous precision. Tanks rumbled forward along the corduroy roads, their engines echoing through the silent forests. Infantry advanced alongside, maintaining formation despite the biting cold and exhaustion from days of relentless preparation. Mortars fired in coordinated volleys, softening German positions and creating openings for the advancing troops. Every movement had been rehearsed, every maneuver calculated for maximum effect. The German forces, caught off guard by the rapidity and precision of the counterattack, scrambled to regroup. Artillery shells rained down from both sides, but Patton's coordination ensured minimal disruption to his advancing units. Engineers repaired destroyed bridges and cleared debris under enemy fire, allowing supply lines to remain intact. Medics moved alongside the infantry, attending to injuries and maintaining morale. The soldiers' discipline, honed through rigorous drills and Patton's constant encouragement, turned the chaos of battle into a calculated push forward. Observers from command posts monitored progress, adjusting artillery support and signaling units to change routes as necessary. Snow, once a hindrance, became a cover for advancing troops, masking movements and making enemy targeting more difficult. Hours of relentless pressure and tactical precision began to pay off. Bastogne's defenders were reinforced, resupplied, and ready to push back the German encirclement. By midday, the German advance had been stalled, their lines fractured and vulnerable. The momentum was shifting, and for the first time in days, American forces seized the initiative. Patton, moving between units, inspired confidence, shouting orders and encouragement, ensuring every soldier knew the importance of their role in the larger battle. The counterattack was no longer a plan, it was a living, moving operation, demonstrating how preparation, strategy, and leadership could turn the tide even in the harshest conditions. By late afternoon, the full weight of Patton's Third Army bore down on the northern approaches to Bastogne. Tanks crushed through frozen earth and snow, their treads leaving deep furrows that marked the relentless push forward. Infantry advanced with grim determination, overcoming exhaustion, cold, and continuous enemy fire. The German defenders, exhausted and demoralized, faced a relentless wave of coordinated attacks, artillery barrages, and precise infantry maneuvers. Communication lines within the German ranks broke down, further hampering any organized resistance. Patton personally oversaw key points along the front, ensuring that reinforcements were deployed exactly where needed, that ammunition and supplies reached frontline units, and that medics were positioned to treat the wounded immediately. His presence alone inspired soldiers to push beyond their limits. Snowstorms still raged intermittently, but rather than slowing the attack, they provided cover for strategic movements. Paratroopers who had held Bastogne for days now linked with advancing units, reinforcing positions and stabilizing lines. By the evening, German positions were shattered. The encirclement of Bastogne was broken, and American forces held the town firmly. High Command, monitoring the unfolding events, expressed amazement. Patton's audacity, speed, and foresight had turned what many thought impossible into a decisive victory. The battle demonstrated not just military skill, but the critical role of leadership in inspiring troops to overcome adversity. Soldiers celebrated cautiously, aware that the war was not yet over, but morale soared. This operation cemented Patton's reputation as a commander who could think faster, move faster, and lead from the front, even in the most brutal winter conditions. Bastogne stood as a testament to preparation, courage, and relentless determination, and Patton's actions would echo through military history for generations. As the night fell, snow muffled the distant sounds of artillery, leaving only the quiet rumble of tanks and the whispered stories of soldiers who had witnessed leadership at its peak.